operate under the Constitution. And it is really only the DPP and the DPP's office, DPP and the Auditor General, who operate under the Constitution. The other agencies usually are commissioned. But entities such as INDICOM, Integrity Commission, all law enforcement agencies, the Auditor General, just to name a few, wield great power in that their investigations, and certainly the Office of the DPP, we don't investigate, but we make rulings or recommendations and we indict and prosecute. But we all wield great power within our particular sphere. And wielding that power attracts certain responsibilities if you are to maintain your credibility and that trust between yourself and the public that you serve, that you, in the appropriate place, have no problem with being transparent, and you have no problem in the appropriate place in explaining, even if the public, the court of public opinion, may not agree, but you are prepared to be out there, step up to the plate, and I like to say, take it on the chin like a man is supposed to. And I say to all entities that serve the public, like mine, that have to make decisions that can adversely affect the reputation or the liberty of a citizen, that one must be wary of making utterances or having this inscrutable silence or operating in a way that may unwittingly give elements of the public the perception that there may be an unconscious bias. We have to be very careful of it. And it seems to me that if you are careful of that, then you will make sure at the appropriate times to put yourself in a position to make sure that transparency reigns. And let me say this, you cannot indict somebody on the basis of perception or suspicion. Now, when I talk about indicting, the indictment which I signed or my Crown Counsel signed in my name is what is the formal charge that we are going to arraign you, plea you to, and that is what the trial is going to take place on. In the agencies that do not necessarily indict, but they may have the power to investigate and place you before the court on a charge, or they may have the power to investigate, lay reports which may or may not make very negative and adverse comments about you. So that may be within the purview of going on further to investigation for possible criminal action, or there may be administrative breaches, which would be at a lower standard than a criminal action. But what is very important must be an awareness that you cannot indict on perceptions or suspicion. So in other words, there must be an evidential basis to make an adverse decision, whether at the administrative level or at the criminal level. And have you ever noticed that when you hear in the media that the police or some other entity has referred a file to the office of the DPP, you ever hear me come out and discuss it before the time? No. I have nothing to say except to confirm that we received a referral from this agency or this country. And even when we are ready to make a decision, I don't come out and talk about it. All I will say is that I have referred the ruling or our decision back to the agency. To the members of the media, please consult the agency. But I do not come out into the public domain and mischaracterize a set of people calling it a death squad. I do not come out in the public domain and mischaracterize anybody. Because irrespective of the antecedent of that person, unless they have been convicted previously of a crime, everybody is entitled to their ruling. And I, as DPP, who will be the only one out of all those agencies who operates under the Constitution, which is higher than being a Commissioner of Parliament, I am solidly behind it. I really do not like it when I hear persons who should know better, either by Twitter or otherwise, mischaracterizing or unwittingly transmitting false information that can negatively impact people's well-being. I am glad to hear that one person agrees with me. But I hope everybody agrees with me. Because guess what? Your reputation is your greatest non-negotiable asset. And when your name has been solid or a negative without more has been put out there, it's very difficult for you. And let me tell you something, I'm a rough prosecutor. Once I have the evidence, I'm going to give it my all in putting it forward to get what I hope is the right result in our favor. But at the same time, as a prosecutor, according to the case law, you have to be a minister of justice. So if it is that you do not have sufficient evidence, you can't fill the gap by going out there on Twitter or going out there to mischaracterize people. Especially when you know that you don't have the evidence. That is unethical. Certainly for a prosecutor. And we are very discreet and confidential in terms of how we assess our material. So I say again, one always has to make sure that fairness runs through like your DNA. And whether the agency or my office is dealing with a police officer who is the subject of the charge, a politician, a lawyer, doctor, or Indian chief, or journalist, or anybody, any citizen, you cannot indict that person based on a perception or suspicion. And let me say, thank you. As a leader, especially when you be in great power, I have found in my 15 years as DPP, I just but granted, when I became DPP, I was the youngest person to be appointed as DPP. You know, it's funny, in our boardroom or conference room, you have pictures of the 6 or 7 boards. And I have not yet, in 15 years, put up my picture because I thought I was too young. But at this time, when I'm on the other side of my career, as perhaps maybe withdrawing to a close. I do. You will see. My staff is good. I come. They need to take a picture. And ladies and gentlemen, I have to say, I still look much younger. Yes. But I would want to say that humility, and this is what I would commend in public life, humility is the underbelly of success. And an excess of ego from any quarter can neutralize common sense. And as an entity that has to make decisions which may be adverse to people's liberty or their reputation, if you allow your credibility to be undermined by doing something in terms of your process which is unusual or inexplicable, then your credibility is going to suffer. Even if you are in a bubble and you may have elements of the society that are seeking to try to, so you may have an element of the to make you feel good. To the average person looking on, people have common sense, your credibility will suffer, which is why you have to have a great respect. And let me tell you something. All the entities that I have mentioned, I know all of the principles. All of them. INDICOM, law enforcement, integrity commission, auditor general, I know all the principles. And from what I can see, they are all well-meaning persons who are committed to being professionals. They are. However, I would commend to them what I have tried to do. Every now and again, I step back and I try to evaluate and refresh and conduct sometimes a little mini renaissance, because nobody is perfect. And what I do in my office, let me share with you, when I am dealing with rulings or decisions to be made and it relates to members of the political class, the one thing I do is buy into what a pollster is going to say about the perception of the political class, that they are the most corrupt. I disabuse my mind of that sort of thing, because it would be unfair for me to approach, or my team to approach, the assessment of the file with that in mind. You can't. You have to be impartial and you have to be fair. The same thing when I'm dealing with a ruling on a police officer. So you may have an ed or somebody calling it, oh, what are the death squad cases? That is not important to us. Because you have to look at the file to see whether the evidentiary basis exists for an indictment. In the case of Millicent Forbes and the DPP, Janice Allen's case, Mr. Justice Brooks, as he then was, referred to a case in his application, which says, and I quote, "It cannot be accepted that a police officer should be charged and prosecuted for murder if a prima facie case is not made out. It cannot be in the public interest that a police officer should be treated differently from a civilian in such matters. By parity of reasoning, it is not in the public interest for any category of person, be it a lawyer, doctor, a garbage man, politician, or journalist, to name a few, anybody at all, to be treated differently from a civilian where no prima facie case is made. It's as simple as that. So sometimes when I see these polls categorizing persons, and so many times I come in, and even I'm at the heart of it, I don't watch the news. I am not on social media at all, except WhatsApp, and that's only because of my daughter. Right? So it is important to have that Pavlovian, and I say to both Madam who has been leader here and the incoming leader, it is important to develop that Pavlovian reflex action when you are giving service of yourself, when you are being a leader, because you have to deal with different personalities. You have to be forthright, you have to be strong, you have to be courageous, you have to be wise, especially when you deal with the human condition to get the best out of them. It is important to remember that humility is the underpinning of success. And remember that you will always, and you know, when I saw the recent situation, I looked at the politicians in Parliament, and I looked at the principals in the Integrity Commission and other agencies, and I thought to myself, yes, I wonder if everybody realizes that in a democracy, both the agencies and Parliament, as far as I'm concerned, they're equally important. The parliamentarians, they make the laws. Integrity Commission has a critical role to play. Indicom has a critical role to play. The Auditor General has a critical role to play. The Office of the DPP has a critical role to play. The Judiciary has a critical role to play. And there are other agencies. And I just don't believe, and I think we have seen how I operate, even when the great Cliff Hughes is trying to, or Theo Jackson Miller, trying to interview me, to provoke me, to play a false stroke, to get me to say something negative or deleterious about another agency. I don't engage in it. I like to troubleshoot, and I like to show respect. Of course, I will be forthright, and I will stay in my lane and still be very strong. But I don't believe in overreaching, and I don't believe in abusing my office. And it cannot be right that because a particular category of person is going to be demonized, whether because we have these poor results or whatever, then it would be right that when you are going to make a decision, you are dealing with perception as opposed to whatever. So I would commend to all of my colleagues in the different agencies who I know are committed to being the best professional. Those are, I know all of them at the highest level. But one has to be careful and you have to step up on occasion and just look at yourself, look at everything. When I deal with members of the political class in terms of a file, I never ever deal with the matter all by myself. I always appoint 2 or 3 other senior persons, and I make sure they don't know the particular person. And they put together a detailed legal opinion, and then we discuss it, and then the decision is made. And have you seen how several times I'm able to send out a press release and it goes around the place, and we'll have 1 or 2 people on Twitter and here trying to say this or that. But usually it is a reasoned opinion where people can see how we actually apply the law. Why the particular politician would not be liable to any criminal action, or why the particular politician. And that is transparency. And I believe that is how Brad DPP has been able to maintain credibility. So in closing, I would like to say that for leadership, for transformational leadership, it is never the wrong time, and never hesitate from time to time, as I said, to step back, introspect, refresh, recalibrate, and have that mini renaissance exercise. Because even though you within yourself may be a committed professional, you have to look at the entity that you lead or that you are a member of the senior executive, and you ask yourself, are we serving the public in a way that factually and by perception it is understood that not only are we doing our best, but we are doing it without bias, unconscious bias, and we are prepared to be transparent and accountable. Because you have to keep your feet on the ground. You can't afford to levitate into the stratosphere, being up there looking down on everybody, because guess what? Every single one of you in here, your taxes pay my son's salary. Your taxes pay my salary. So I and all of my colleague agencies have to remember that we serve. We are not serving our ego. We are serving the public. Right? So it is important that we remember never to get on our high horse, and that as we wield great power, it is important to have what is called no piece of leash, the ability to use your emotional intelligence along with the strength, the courage, and most important, the wisdom to know when to course correct or when to act. Now, cricket has always been my favorite great game.